Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. We're broadcasting live from Lagos. Now, according to the Plateau State Commissioner for Information and Communication, Musa Ashoms, the death toll in the Plateau Christmas Eve attack in Bokkos and Barkin-Ladi has risen to 195 as the search for missing persons is still ongoing. The Nigerian Red Cross disclosed that 161 deaths were recorded, with 32,604 persons affected in the attack, has affected 84 communities in Bokkos and Barkin-Ladi and left 29,350 persons displaced.
According to the Red Cross, the coordinated attacks by armed groups left 301 persons injured and 27 houses burned. Meanwhile, invaders have threatened fresh attacks on the community in Plateau State on today, barely 4 days after they killed 195 persons in 17 communities across the state. The Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the Middle Belt Forum, Stanley Kawam, in an interview with Arise Television on Thursday, said the terrorists had sent a letter of an imminent attack to the Pushit community in the Mango local government area where he hailed from. Joining us for more updates, we have Barrister Liop Solomon Wantiri. He's the National President of the Rom Youth Molder Association. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us.
Once again.
All right. What is this that we're hearing about a letter written to the communities of impending fresh attacks?
Pardon, I didn't get you. The network interrupted.
I was saying that what is this that we're hearing about fresh letters being written about impending attacks? Can you confirm this?
Yeah, it is a confirmed story. And this is not the first time we've had this kind of development. Whenever the bandits or the terrorists want to invade villages and communities, there will be one, either a letter dropped by them or from our sources. You know, local sources will always reveal that there's going to be an impending attack in so locations, and lo and behold, it has always come to bear. So that letter has been confirmed. And of course, that is what is threatening the minds of so many people, especially the remaining residents of nearby villages and communities, because almost over 28 villages have already been invaded, and neighboring villages have already, relocated because of the fear of the impending attacks arising from that letter, that there was going to be an attack, and then lo and behold, it comes to be. So that letter has been confirmed to be true.
And what is being done about it now? Of course, we're seeing that just like the last time, there were reports of a letter being sent and a notice being sent. And we had you to talk about this. What is being done by security agencies now that you can confirm that there's a fresh letter that's been sent to those on the plateau?
Well, yes, we are witnessing patrol team of particularly Operation Safe Haven that has been going around in Barkin-Ladi. Of course, patrol has been intensified, and also we can see the synergy going on between the local vigilante and the security operatives. But of course, it is a non-fact undeniably established that there is inadequate security agents on ground to actually man the security situation. Of course, that is what is bringing about the patrol, because I talked with one of the security personnel and said that they don't have adequate manpower. But of course, the highest they can do from certain locations, they've stationed their personnel. They can rather go and patrol, the target areas. But of course, they cannot guarantee that they will be all everywhere, because they don't have enough on ground. And that is why, government on its own part have come up with this slogan that security is every man's business. You don't rely on the security agents when they are inadequate. And then, of course, people must rise up to help themselves and also help the security personnel in terms of patrol.
Okay. Well, let me also quickly ask, I mean, recently you've said that the letter has indeed been issued. And what is the security operative, or what are the security operatives indeed doing about it? But most importantly, what are residents? What are they saying after receiving these letters? Is there any form of apprehension? Are people starting to scamper and run away from their homes as you speak to us currently?
In short, at the moment, many villages are relocating because of that letter. Not only that letter, because of the incident that occurred on the eve of Christmas. Many villages are leaving. Even at the moment, I just received a call this morning from Hurum that the remaining houses that were standing, the locals have just, mobilized themselves to remove the zincs because the bandits went a night before yesterday and set a cooking church Hurum ablaze, and then of course remove the doors and the other roofing materials that were not affected when they invaded that general area. And of course, the people cannot continue, living in those locations when it will turn to be like a suicidal on their own part. So the people have no option than to leave. And then, of course, that is what informed a call on the security personnel that this is what is still happening, because on that night, that is to say, night before yesterday, the attackers were spotted on motorbikes from Josho and Manguna area going to the Hurum forest. And I personally was among those that called the security personnel that this is what is about happening. And it was at about 5 or 6 p.m. And so they said that they have acknowledged that, and then appropriate measures will be taken. And lo and behold, some hours before, we learned that they have already set the place ablaze again. And so I also placed a call on the security personnel that this is what is happening. Of course, and when the locals, went in the morning to ascertain the level of damage, they discovered that almost every house has its doors, removed and cutted away. And they started digging the foundations of those structures that were still standing, so that there was going to be total demolition of the entire place. So the people have been totally uprooted from their ancestral homestead. And there is high apprehension arising from this letter that the people have found that indeed these people are coming. And then one thing with the attackers, there will always be early warning signals, either given by them or from the intelligence gathered that this is what is about happening. And then, of course, we've seen it happening. So it beat down our imagination that we have the police, we have other sister agencies on ground. There is need for synergy. Police should also recruit more of its personnel and deploy them, to join force with the Operation Safe Haven, since there is an established fact of inadequate personnel on ground.
That's worrisome. But let me also add to what you've said. Are you in any way, Mr. Daliop, saying that the security operatives have left the place and the insurgents have come back again? Aside from this letter, they've torched some houses and they've gone back, and it seems that the situation is not settled yet. Can you confirm once more?
Yeah, we are not saying the security have left the place. There is increased number of security, particularly in Tenti, which is a central area where there could be, security coordination of the situation within that area. But it is inadequate because there is need for security to be stationed at Daruat, at Hurum, at Meyanga, at Mejanke, and other places, just as it is established that these invaders or the bandits attacked 28 villages simultaneously. And then, of course, there were no inadequate security on ground to be able to repel or contain them. And that is why we are having this number. So we're not saying security have left. There is a little increase of them. Oh, we are praying that there should be more deployment of security personnel into Plateau State, so that the security, the able and patriotic leadership of General A.E. Abdul Salam, who has been very up and doing, whom the Plateau people have commended for being, proactive, will have sufficient or adequate manpower on the ground to be able to contain the situation. And these bandits that were brought within and outside the country are still living in Plateau State, are still in these places that we've mentioned before now: Manga, Fas, Joshua, Dajingomna, and Manguna area. These are places, and also where hills in Barkin-Ladi local government, where they have already, infiltrated those areas. We want our operation to flush them out. Just as we received this morning, that there was a flush out operation around Hurum area, because the people called me this morning that there are sporadic gunshots, and so they don't know what to do. So immediately I called the sector commander of Bokkos. He called and then and then go back to me. That is the military operation. They are flushing out possibly the forest also, because it is established that the bandits have also infiltrated that forest, and from there they want to extend their operation to communities that are relatively standing. So there is high apprehension. Security on the ground, but they are inadequate. That one is undeniable.
All right.
They are inadequate. That is why people have registered the apprehension that indeed, now, should something not done, what is happening in Zamfara, what is happening in Kebbi, and other places, is going to be witnessed here on the plateau, because it is reliably gathered that what is happening on the plateau, the bandits that have been brought on the plateau have also been recruited from neighboring, countries, not only the ones in Plateau, not only the ones in, Taraba, Benue, Nasarawa, Kaduna, and Bauchi that were brought into the state. There are also mercenaries brought from outside the country.
All right. Now, you've talked about the apprehension that is currently experienced on the plateau, and that's very understandable because, they barely recovered from the tragedy that hit on the eve of Christmas, and now we're talking about the potential of another tragedy happening. We hope that the security agencies are able to prevent that from happening. But what support, how much support have the survivors from the 24th of December attacks, how much support have they gotten in terms of food, clothing, in terms of maybe even mental, moral support? There's been approval of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs to give support. So how much support would you say they've received?
Well, we've not heard of any support, even though to commend the effort of the Plateau State government, who has made an executive pronouncement, going around to see how they can facilitate the hospital bills of those in admission, because hundreds of people have been injured and they are left to their fate. But of course, the government has sunk into action to give them the needed support. But of course, as to issue of any humanitarian or food support received by these victims, I have not yet heard that. But of course, we want to believe, or we want to assume, maybe data is being collected to actually inform what kind of support will come from either the Ministry of Humanitarian, Affairs and other, relevant bodies that are having it in mind to come with any support. But as it is, the people are left to their fate. There is hunger in the land. Of course, every foodstuff these people had, their homes and everything has been raised down, has been burned. The people are on their own, except now that they've been hosted, in nearby villages and communities who have also had their farm crops destroyed, because on the plateau, there is a food crisis we are witnessing, because Fulani, embark on destruction of farm crops like the way we had it today. In one village alone, based on the data available, in one village alone, more than 500 farmlands were completely destroyed this year in one village. And this thing affected not only one local government, but almost every local, Barkin-Ladi, Riom, Bassa, Mangu, and Bokkos, and also part of Josao. We've had an alarming destruction of farm crops. Now, the little the people were able to harvest, now they have gone and raised them down. So we can see the alarming food crisis, and also the people have already been. So of course, this calls for not just national intervention, but international intervention, because it will have not less than 45,000 people displaced in the recent time. This one is in addition to the existing, IDPs we already have, which have never been resettled for once. So we can see that the whole thing is coming to engulf the whole state, not only the whole state, but the middle belt as a whole. So there is need for more than just verbal expression that government is on top of the situation. The situation is on top of government. Should something not be done,
Mm. That's a very strong assertion there. Situation is actually on top of the government, and I mean, with all you've said, it seems that it's more than what meets the eye. But let me ask you this final question, Mr. Daliop. Um, in all of this, the governor of Plateau State, His Excellency Governor Caleb Mutfwang, was spotted in Lagos joining the president in celebration, especially the New Year or the Yuletide season. How do residents, especially those in the Plateau, how do they feel seeing that the governor, who mostly is expected to be with the people during these perilous or trying times, is felicitating outside of the state?
We must almost understand that the governor is up and doing. And should he not have gone to see Mr. President? Not that he went there to celebrate the Christmas with the president. He went there, I want to believe, and based on his own, a statement, I was there, that he went to solicit with the president for intervention on the plateau. And because of that engagement with the president, that brought about the visit of Vice President, the Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Defense Staff, and also the National Security Advisor were here day before yesterday on the plateau to actually have an on-the-spot assessment by themselves so that they will get it reliably on ground what actually transpired, who are the perpetrators of this crime. So those facts have already been established. If he had not gone to see Mr. President, possibly the president wouldn't have assigned the vice president or wouldn't have tasked the vice president to come to Plateau. So people must get it straight. Let us see this thing beyond the social media, beyond sentiment. The governor did it right. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm commending him for that wonderful step he took. Because assuming he was on ground, of course, he has his personnel on ground. His aides were also on ground, getting the reliable information as to what was happening. I remember one of his aides from Lagos called me that we should furnish them with reliable data as to what happened, and which we did. And I want to believe that is what formed the basis of his presentation to the president. Not that he went there to dine. So the president, the governor is with his people, just like the president is with the people of Plateau. If the president was not with the people of Plateau, he wouldn't have assigned or tasked the vice president and national security advisor, as well as the chief of army, chief of defense staff, to come to the state. So we have already.
If we are to follow through what you're saying, isn't this an indictment on the president?
It is not an indictment. It is actually a demonstration of patriotism the president has for the people of Plateau, for assigning for immediate on-the-spot assessment. This is something that had not happened before. Before now, of course, during President Muhammadu Buhari's time, Plateau State was boiling. He came, but it was so unfortunate that the day President Buhari was on the plateau, that was the day Bokkos was invaded by the bandits, and then of course, for almost 12 hours operation, there was no any proactive measures taken to avert that. Of course, people were, the entire district was overrun. That is Dafo district. But of course, in this one, we can see a concern from the president, and we are expecting more. Not that we have seen anything, but of course, we have seen the first step taken by the visit, and we want to believe that the president will do more than just the visit, because we wouldn't want it to end like the visit, just like President Buhari visited Plateau and we didn't see anything. Even with a 10 billion naira promise for the people of Bokkos and Barkin-Ladi by the then administration, they have not redeemed that pledge up to date.
I genuinely believe that it will not end at just the visit. Is that what you're saying?
We don't want to be picture of same. That is the kind of apprehension we are having. Can I just ask,
in a few seconds, are you saying that you genuinely believe that President Tinubu's, this current administration, it will not just end at a visit?
Exactly.
You believe that there will be more that will be done?
We want to believe there will be more that will be done. Because at the moment now, Barkin-Ladi, Riom, Jos South, Bassa, Jos East, and as well as Mangu and Bokkos have already been enlisted to be invaded today based on the available intelligence gathered. And these people are still on ground. Now imagine, in short, from the intelligence gathered, the kind of weapons that have already been supplied to these people, to the bandits, is very, very scary.
Okay.
So Plateau, I'm using this medium to make a passionate appeal on behalf of Plateau State people that please, Mr. President, let something be done. We want to live in peace. We want to contribute our own quota toward the success of his administration. But of course, the bandits have already declared that they want to have Plateau State overrun. Not only Plateau, the entire Middle Belt. And which by extension will affect the whole nation. Because whether we like it or not, the security situation of Nigeria is at stake. And so should something not be done timeously, of course, we'll have ourselves, gone into extinction. Just like General T.Y. Danjuma said, should people not rise to defend themselves, they will go into extinction. And this is what is happening.
Okay.
And should therefore, are we now pushed to the world to call for acquisition of firearms for self-defense? And of course, the government will not do anything. We are calling that there should be legalization of firearms for people to defend themselves, because we cannot sit at home and have ourselves being killed and have our communities being overrun. Now we have not less than 102 villages that are currently in the occupation of the bandits, and nobody is saying anything, nobody is doing anything. For goodness sake, are we in hell? Are we in dungeon? Are we in abyss? We are on earth with a system, with a government in place that's supposed to give adequate attention to guarantee the safety of individuals and their property, and that's a constitutional mandate on the part of government, but we are not seeing it. Should we go to hell alive?
Mr. Dalib, I mean, it's quite a sad situation, and I can tell that it's really getting heated up here. I mean, that's, of course, because of your passion, especially for wanting Plateau State to live up to its name, because Plateau State is also known as the home of peace and tourism. That's what Plateau State is also known for. That's what it's called, by the way. But as it seems, it's not looking like it's a peaceful place. So far, so good in recent times. At this juncture, I want to say thank you so much for shedding more light on what's really happening. The recent letter that has come. I mean, we've seen you in multiple videos. You were there during the burial arrangements for the dead ones. We've seen your activities, walking around, ensuring that you're part. You do know what's really happening in all of the communities. I want to thank you so much for the good work you're doing. Coincidentally, I seem to have a close friend and a brother, I'll call him a father, an in-law of mine who passed away. His name is Jugul Daliop. He was from Birom, from very around your area. And I visited that place, and I do know what it looks like. I want to say thank you so much, by the way, for joining us.